you.
Hello everyone. I'm not going to ask how many of you have used MVC. I know everybody has done that, and I'm not here to discuss what MVC is because everybody knows that as well. My topic for today is a different approach for MVC for smaller applications that might help us keep it clean. And yeah, I forgot. My name is Pravara and I work for hotels.com as a team lead. Everybody has seen this this screen when we go on iOS documentation on Apple's websites. It's the first thing that we learn before starting iOS development, really, and we are pretty much familiar with this. Then why? You must be thinking, in the age of Viper, MVVM, MVP, and all these clean Swift fancy things, why MVC now? Well, it is simple. It is simple to understand, to implement. If we are doing a smaller application, is quicker, then it's less amount of code, so easy to build. And of course, it's used and recommended by Apple. And I'm sure you're still thinking, really, MVC? We get massive view controllers with that. It's not testable. We end up with spaghetti code, lots of bugs because of that, crashes, it's hard to maintain. But I've always thought that with MVC, I mean, there must be a way to get away with, do MVC, but still get away with all those pitfalls of MVC. And I was thinking, can we make MVC better? When I came across this blog post on Medium by Pavel Gatnuk, I don't know I'm pronouncing it correctly or not, but yeah. The blog post is about making MVC modern, or it is about how we can repurpose MVC or add on to things to MVC to make it more usable and it won't have all these pitfalls. What this blog post talks about really is using a coordinator between the controllers to discuss about, to communicate between. To explain this a bit more, I created some sample applications, but I'm not going through them. I've just got some screenshots about them. First thing that I did was I downloaded a sample app from Apple's documentation website, documentations, which is like first thing how to build iOS app thing. It's a really simple application called Meal Planner, and it has 2 view controllers, 1 table view controller, 1 normal UI view controller, 1 meal class which is a model, and some view rating control and others. Pretty simple application, and that's how the table view controller looks. Is doing almost everything. It's getting the data from the model, creating the sample data. It's handling. It's of course it's a table view controller, so it's showing cells, editing them, and doing everything. So to get away with this problem of doing UI controller or view controller doing everything, I created this coordinator. Now this coordinator is responsible to get some data and pass it on to the view controllers. Now if you see, we have 2 view controllers, which is a meal table view controller and the meal view controller, and they both need that model. They both refer to the meal model. So with this coordinator, now I can use this coordinator in both the view controllers, and I don't have to repeat any code. So coordinator can go to the model, get the data, save it back, and use it. If you see the storyboard of this application, it's very simple. But what I did now is I've decided to add a new view controller to it. So we have now this new recipes view controller here, which I want to call from both table view controller and the UI view controller. If we are using storyboards and segues, it's pretty easy because navigation is handled by the segues, and I don't have to worry about anything. All I have to do is add this last switch case for show recipes and just pass on the object to the new view controller, and that's done. However, if we are not using segues and we decide to do it as a new separate nib outside the storyboard and still want to call from both the view controllers, then the problem we might face is both view controller need to create instance of this new view controller and pass the data to it. So they both know about this new view controller, they both know about the meals and everything. So again, I can use coordinators and create a method in there which creates this recipe view controller and sends it back whoever needs it. But as you might have guessed by now, this is becoming the dumping ground. It is getting big, and although we have reduced code from view controller, now this is getting messier, and we might have same problems in this coordinator. So what I thought could be a solution is, I'm not 100% sure that this is the solution, but this can be a way to get away with this, is using the factories. So this is what I came up with. And so coordinators was the part that was mentioned in the blog post, but even at hotels.com we use factories for creating the controllers that are created as and when they are asked for. And these factory and coordinators are dumb. They don't know anything more outside their scope. We use dependency injections, and then that way they are very much independent. That helps UI unit testing, and that's what I think might work to solve our massive view controller problems. In the end, we are still if we decide to use factories and coordinators, we are still using MVC, which is with lighter view controller. It has a modularized code. It is now testable, and it somewhat follows single responsibility principle. We can also further divide the coordinators to do only a particular job and not do everything together, and that way it's easily manageable as well. The examples that I've shown is on these are the links for them, and the next one and the second one is the blog post that I have referred or I've mentioned before for the modern MVC. It's on Medium. If you just search for modern MVC on Medium, that's the first one that you get. And I'm sure I missed something, so anything that I missed, or any questions or any comments. Thank you.
We have do you deal with life cycles? So you talked about coordinators and having them control a little bit of the flow, but iOS doesn't lend itself particularly well to using coordinators for generating new views when it comes to view controllers. So storyboards handle that a little bit for you, but keeping things around and passing between different views, how do you deal with that in this pattern?
So the question is how to deal with the life cycle of view controllers. So do you mean that if what happens with the strong and weak references? Yeah, I did check it with the storyboards, because I think with storyboards they get created when the view is in a hierarchy, and they get removed afterwards. I think we can still manage these with coordinators. I haven't tried it. I haven't experimented with that, so I'm not 100% sure. But with coordinators, I mean, I'm not saying we should use coordinators to create the new view controller. It should be factory, and it should be just creating the view controller and passing it on. There's the instance, and yeah, may not answering your question, but yeah. Is it?